So I think what the floods sort of highlighted for me was some of the skills in our community that we already possess, but don't necessarily frame it in a recovery or emergency sort of way. And for that, I can think about one of our paddlers from Tuitonga Canoe Club, where at the time they were living in Mount Roscoe, and it was one of the badly hit areas of the flood. And he had his canoe on his car, because a lot of paddlers have their single canoe in their cars. And he was lucky enough that his house was on a little bit of a hill, so they didn't get flooded out. But he could see that his neighbour, they were starting to get flooded out, but there was no one home. But the elderly man was still there, and he actually couldn't walk. And so I guess without even thinking about it, when the floods were really bad and he literally couldn't leave the house because they were covered in water, he just grabbed his canoe, paddled over, and helped this elderly man, jump into the canoe, and then he sort of just swam, by holding onto the canoe and took him to safety. Never in a thousand years you'd think that your canoe would come in handy for a rescue on land in a flood. But that's the sort of thing that sort of got me thinking that we do have all these sort of skills and capacity around our community. We just don't really think of it in that sort of sense. And it got me thinking too about, for a lot of Waka-ama paddlers, we have life jackets, lights to paddle at night. We have things that we use and utilize to make sure we can paddle any time of the year that you wouldn't necessarily think about will come in handy in an emergency. So I think one of the cool things, or one of the positives anyway, from the floods was that we actually have a lot of these skills around. And so how do we talanoa about it so that we can unpack it and say, actually, in this situation, you could use your canoe to do that. You could have taken your life jacket with you. If it was freezing, we have these thermals that we wear when we go paddling at night. We have all this warm clothing and stuff like that we probably just reserve for paddling. We don't think about it in any other context. And so it'd be good to have that talanoa and figure out what's this maybe recreational skill we have that actually will become quite useful in an emergency. So it has got me thinking about it, and actually probably makes me think I might be more useful in an emergency than I would have thought previously. But yeah, it'd be good to unpack it a bit more.